Hey, I'm Charlie the Witch, and today we're going to learn what Charlie the Witch is all about. We're going to head to the park, we're going to do a little music, a little tarot reading, some nature photography, a little bit of everything. Charlie the Witch is a musician first and foremost. That's how he began. So today he's going to be playing you guys a song called Conjuring, which he's been writing lately. So check it out. I came up with the Charlie name in 2018, but it's one of those deals where I was Charlie my whole life. Charlie is a musician, so I needed a persona that encapsulated who I am, who I've been my whole life, also a name that was catchy, and since creating that name, a lot of things have fallen into place with my spiritual practice, with my songwriting and my music. So it's been really cool, honestly, and to be honest, I feel like I'm in the beginning of a new chapter. Today, Charlie's going to do a tarot reading using the Rider-Waite deck. It's one of the most popular decks out there and a great starter deck for a lot of people getting into tarot. Normally I like to pull three card spreads and connect them as best as possible and try to fit them neatly into some type of narrative. These three spreads, they're like three acts in a story. So Act 1 begins with the magician. I am the magician. The magician is the subject or the protagonist of the story that we're telling. And pretty quickly what I find is shit's fucked up and I'm pretty jaded. That's what's going on in the Four of Cups. That's like, I ain't feeling this. And I'm not sure where exactly I'm headed, but I'm feeling a little bit more confident after reflecting and also taking good care of myself, getting good sleep, eating healthy. And so with that, I'm charging forward as the Knight of Swords. That's a call to adventure, call to arms card, which brings us into Act 2. Act 2 begins with the Nine of Swords, which is connecting to the Four of Cups in the first spread. So it's a card of dissatisfaction, unhappiness, jadedness. You know, I'm not feeling things. So what ends up happening is that I have to go through a pretty rough process of, reflection and renewal. That's what this death card is about. Death can be a very ominous card to pull, obviously, because it's death. But the reality is, as I'm saying, death often represents rebirth and renewal. And that leads me to the end of Act 2, which is the Temperance card. I like to say this is a good, adulting card. We're dealing with balance and cooperation. You're taking good care of yourself. You're wrestling your vices successfully. Actually, you're not even wrestling it anymore. You just hit the finishing move and the vices are dead and buried. Which brings us to the third act. The Hangman relates to the Magician in the first spread. The Hangman and the Magician are also both intuitive cards, so they connect in that way as well. I like to think that I'm in a place of contentment, that I'm either in it now or I'm just about to enter into it. It's sunny, everything's cool. And then this last card, the Six of Cups, this is how we end the third act. This is a card that also is about reconnecting to the past, which can mean reconnecting with family and, maybe having a bit of a dynamic that you haven't gotten to experience in a long time because everyone's drifted apart. But that's the story arc of the tarot that I'm telling about myself. And that's our reading for the day. Charlie the Witch is also a photographer, and he's really into nature photography, so you're going to be following him around in the park while he walks around and explains what he's looking at and what he likes to shoot. Charlie the Witch is really into the gothic aesthetics. It's part of the whole cauldron of what inspires him. So, check it out. Through the influence of Instagram, I got into photography, like I think a lot of us have. Yeah, I got into really into gothic photography, which involves a lot of black and white stuff, but also I've gotten into the nature photography, and this is one that the nature photography is kind of at the top. I'll also go to cemeteries and take photos there. And then I've been weaving in the tarot cards into my nature posts. So instead of just having the tarot cards in some plain background, now I'm literally finding a place to put the tarot cards on and shoot. This is a very lush time to be shooting. Of course, I love shooting during wintertime, during the fall, early spring. Parts of the year where the trees are more in a transition state, whether they're changing colors. Obviously, having a forest filled with just tree limbs with no leaves, that's a pretty heavy look. So, it's interesting shooting different times of year. I'm almost so used to shooting in the fall and the spring that I'm wow, there's a lot of greenery. I'm almost ooh. We could even stumble upon someone just taking a nap. As you can hear right by the street. This is nice. Right here we got a nice concentration of leaves and branches. So that's nice. I'm gonna start over there and then make my way over there. I'm looking for a combination of different factors. There's symmetry. So for example, I'll show you what I'm doing here. So this shot right here, you have two trees on opposite ends. This is where the OCD kind of helps. I'm particular about the placement of trees and where they are in the shot. So I don't want like one tree in the middle and that's the shot. So I like having that sort of symmetry, proportion to it. I'm also looking to get the right balance of ground and tree. So I don't want just tree and I don't want just ground. I guess I would say I want 1/3 ground, 2/3 tree, if that makes any sense. And yeah, for these type of shots, it's all about the trees. Also too, let me see. I try to get a. I'm not sure if you can see it there. You can see the sun kind of peeking through. Sometimes those are really cool, kind of spiritual shots that I'll take sometimes with the sun in the background peeking through the trees. Eh. Sometimes you think you got something, and then you look at it and you're like, generic nature photo. So that's what Charlie the Witch is all about. You got to see a little bit of everything: the music, the tarot, the sound meditation, the photography. You can follow Charlie the Witch on Instagram, Charlie the Witch 666. And he also has the SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Charlie the Witch. He usually puts out a handful of songs a year. So, yeah, you guys could check that out and have a good evening.